Let me start by being completely honest. I used to get motion sickness too, especially during my flight training days here in Florida. And let me tell you that the Florida heat made things so much more worse. The cockpit would turn into a flying sauna with barely any airflow. I remember sweating through my shirt before I even had started the engine. I combined that with turbulence, new sensations, intense concentration, and it was the worst combination for feeling absolutely terrible. I didn't want to admit it at the time, but I was definitely struggling with nausea during these early lessons. So if that's you right now, don't feel bad, you're not alone. Many great pilots have gone through it, and the good news is there's always a way to overcome it. So what are we waiting for? And let's get started. So why does motion sickness happen in the first place? It's actually a conflict between your eyes, what you see, your inner ear, what it feels, and how your brain interprets movement. When those signals don't match up, your body gets confused, and that confusion can trigger nauseousness, dizziness, and even vomiting. So basically the idea of any carnival ride. But in a cockpit, especially during instrument-heavy lessons, your eyes may be fixed on gauges while your body feels pitching, yawing, and rolling, and your brain says, wait a minute, something's off. And that's when motion sickness may kick in. Now add in the heat to the mix like I experienced here in Florida and things get worse. Heat dehydrates you faster, lowers your tolerance for discomfort, and intensifies this nauseousness sickness. It's not just uncomfortable, it's a physiological stressor. Fortunately, good instructors have seen this before and know how to help. Now, over the years, I've gathered some excellent tips that work for most students dealing with motion sickness. So here we go. First of all, fresh air. Keep fresh air flowing. Open those air vents and aim them directly at your face if possible. Cool air can really help reduce that nauseousness. If you are in the lucky position to have an air conditioning on board your trainer or private aircraft, take advantage of it. Set it to your liking as you would do in your car. Not too cold and not too warm. Just be careful that too much cool air around your neck can give you a stiff neck. Visual reference. Next, try to keep your eyes outside the cockpit as much as possible. Looking at the horizon helps align your visual reference with what your body feels, which reduces the sensory mismatch. Yes, this doesn't apply during your IFR training, but definitely when flying VFI. I remember that my instructor gave me the great advice that I should align the nose of the plane with an object far in the distance to help me stay on my heading, and at the same time, the fourth rivet of the A-beam splitting the windshield in the Piper Archer, I shall align with the horizon to maintain altitude. And because my eyes were purely focusing on those two things, my concentration shifted more towards visually maintaining my heading and altitude rather than thinking about my nauseousness. Smell. I'm not sure about your trainer planes, but I remember that our fleet of training planes all had a similar smell, and it wasn't Chanel No. 5. A mix of 20-year-old sweat in the seats, deteriorating stinky carpets, gasoline fumes from the fuel drain dripping into the back seats, and if you're super unlucky, a scent of vomit from a previous student. So no joy for a sensitive nose and body that is already anxious to get into such a crammed space. If you have the time, even if it's not your job, clean the inside of the airplane prior to your flight. And if you have to use a bottle of Febreze to get the smell out, so be it. And no kidding, but consider bringing one of those car fresheners to the plane. Trust me, your instructor will be pleasantly surprised as they climb into a good smelling airplane. Just try it. Shorter flights. If you're prone to feeling sick, ask for shorter lessons, 30 to 45 minutes instead of 90-minute flights. It's better to have a focused, successful session than a long one where you're struggling through the last half. You won't be able to absorb anything your instructor is telling you. So keep the flights short, get an extra landing and takeoff in your logbook, step out of the plane, stretch and move around a little bit, hydrate, consider taking notes about what you've just learned, and take a pee break. Collect yourself and jump back into your next session. I'm not to be ashamed to say that I've done that multiple times. On that note, if you need to take a break in the air, let the autopilot, your instructor or co-pilot, take over for a moment and do some box breathing. Open the vents, then slowly inhale for 6 seconds, hold it for 6, exhale for 6, and do nothing for 6 seconds. Do that cycle 4 times and realize how your breathing and your overall anxiety calms down. Don't be afraid to speak up. Let your instructor know how you are feeling. They might adjust the lesson plan, avoid abrupt maneuvers, or fly in smoother conditions, like in the early morning hours when the air is more stable. You're paying your hard-earned money for each flight, so don't just be a passenger that's unable to process anything your instructor is telling you. It's more enjoyable and benefits the both of you if you take regular breaks, but you have to let your instructor know. Here's something a lot of students overlook. Do the flying. Be the one that actually is flying the airplane, even early on. Gives you a sense of control, and that significantly reduces motion sickness. It's when you're just sitting there as a passenger or watching maneuvers that things tend to get worse. Me, for instance, I every now and then get invitations to aerobatic flying in an extra 300 or similar. I always say I'd be more than happy to if I do all the flying, because only then I am in control of the plane, rather than sitting in a roller coaster not knowing if the next maneuver is going to go up, down, left or right. And sure, if you have an autopilot, use it once you've reached cruising altitude or flight level, or the sickness becomes unbearable. But understand that using the autopilot will have not enhanced your manual flying skills, and that check ride or that airliner simulator screening is coming either way, and no one wants to see how great you can use the autopilot. As briefly mentioned before, the time of the day when you go flying can heavily impact your flight experience. Always opt for flight hours in the early morning or an hour before sunset if you are in your VFR training phase. Why? Calmer air. During these times, the air is predominantly calmer with fewer thermals and turbulences. Plus, sunrise and sunset views make everything better. Do not, whatever you do, take motion sickness medication before or during the flight. Most of these liquids or chewing gums all have the side effects of causing drowsiness, fatigue, blurred vision, to mention a few, and all state do not drive or do other activities that require alertness, coordination, or clear vision. Exactly those you require to fly a plane, even if the package says otherwise. Now, let's talk about food. What you eat before a flight can either support you or sabotage you. Good choices include light, easy to digest meals. Toast, plain cereals, crackers, bananas. These are all great. Ginger tea or ginger chews are also well known for their anti-nausea effects. And of course, stay hydrated. Water is your friend, but don't overdo it just before a flight. Now for the no-go list. You probably guessed it. Avoid greasy, heavy foods like burgers or fried items. These slow down digestions and make you feel sluggish. I always have to smile when pilots speak of the $100 hamburger flights. I have done many of them, but always stuck to the salad as I was worried that that burger is going to make an early exit out of the wrong end before we land. Same goes for dairy products, especially in heat, can be risky for some people. But don't skip meals entirely. Flying on an empty stomach is just as bad because you'll be burning a lot of calories during your flight as you are multitasking and your body has to take the energy from somewhere. Consider flying, especially during flight training, like a decent workout. You need that energy in your system to perform. So ideally, eat a light snack about 60 to 90 minutes before your flight that gives your body time to settle while still keeping your energy levels steady or high. And have a few healthy snacks ready, like a banana or an apple that you can easily access during flight. But please just don't hide perishable foods in the plane side pockets and forget about them after reading the shutdown checklist. Now, let's talk about mindset. One of the biggest factors in dealing with motion sickness is how you mentally approach it. If you start your flight dreading that feeling, you're already setting yourself up for discomfort. But if you accept that bit of queasiness, that it's normal and temporary, and know you have the tools to handle it, you'll be much more resilient. Your body is incredibly adaptable. Most student pilots find that their symptoms sort of fade with consistent training. After 10 to 15 hours in the cockpit, your inner ear and brain begin to sync up, and what once felt disorientating becomes second nature. I am the living example that that statement is true. To speed up the process, try breathing techniques that I mentioned before. Focus on slow, steady inhales and exhales. Avoid reading or staring at checklists for too long, especially in turbulence. And if you want to experiment with anti-nausea wristbands or even the over-the-counter remedies like ginger capsules, and many pilots find those helpful too. Here's the most important takeaway. Motion sickness doesn't mean you're not cut out to be a pilot. It's just one of those things your body needs time to adjust. With patience, smart preparation, and the right tools, you'll get past it. And you'll come out more confident than before. So stay light, stay cool, eat smart, and most of all, don't give up. Every pilot was once a nervous, slightly nauseous student, and now they fly with ease. If you have any tips of your own on how to deal with motion sickness, please share them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your experience. And if this video helped you, give it a thumbs up. And on that bombshell, here is your checklist for today. Subscribe to my channel, check, activate the notification bell, check, follow my Instagram account, check, and join our very helpful Patreon community where motion sickness is definitely also a topic in our Zoom calls. And don't forget, a good pilot is always learning. Wishing you all the best. Your Captain Joe.